Very good evening, all of you. Hope you all are doing well. Let's start with today's session. Now, guys, in today's session, we are going to start with a new module called stored programs. Okay, so what these stored programs are is a complete separate module. Stored programs are SQL code blocks only. Okay, they are SQL code blocks, and these code blocks are performing some specific task. Maybe it is containing some calculations, or it may be containing any business logic. Okay, so it's a code block, but that code block is stored in your database. Till now, we have seen that in the database, what are stored? Tables, and within the table, records, right or no? So in the table, in the database, what are there? Tables. But MySQL allows you to store the code as well. The code itself can be stored in the database. Okay. And whenever you want, you can execute that code any number of times, as many times as you want. You can execute and take the benefit of it. It is a sort of automation, like some task which you want to do repeatedly. So why to write that task again and again? You define that task once only, store that task in the database, and whenever you want, you can execute that task. Okay. So what are stored programs? From that name only you come to know the programs itself are stored. Means till now in the database we have seen we can store tables, and within the table records are there. But MySQL says within the database the code itself can be stored, and whenever you want you can execute that code. That code may contain temporary variables, then it may contain decisions, if and else, or it may contain loops, and within that you can use your queries like select query, insert query, update query, delete query. Okay, so in short, stored programs are SQL code blocks, and these code blocks are stored in the database. And whenever you want, you can execute that code as many times as you want. And whenever you are executing it, that time you can pass also different values to it as parameters. Correct? And that code after completion may return also some result back to you. It's not necessary it will return, but it may return also some result when you're calling that code for execution. That time you can pass also parameters to it. So all that benefits you can get. Okay. So basically it is for automating some task. Like if some task you want to do again and again, why to write that task every time? Instead of that, define that task once, okay, store it in the database. The task only is stored in the database. The code itself is getting saved in the database. Normally, those who have done already C programming or Java or C++ or Python, there we have stored the code in their respective files. Like if it's a Python code, then in a .py file, or Java code, then in a .java file. Here, the code itself, the logic itself is in your database, means in your secondary storage. And then whenever you want, you can call that code for execution. And whenever you're calling it, that time you can pass parameter to it. And after the task is complete, it may return also a result back to you. Getting clear? So what are different types of stored programs are there? What facilities it provides? All I'll tell you one by one. What benefit you will get from these stored programs. Okay, so everything in some languages, instead of calling it as in some database management, not languages, I want to tell, in some database management systems, they call it as PLSQ, procedural language structured query. Means they actually say SQL is a non-procedural language. I hope you know it. Yes or no? Now, till date, We know that SQL is a non-procedural, meaning you just tell what to do. You're not bothered about how, right? So using SQL only, you're adding some procedural ability also. Procedural ability like declaring temporary variables or decision making, if and else, or iterations like loops and or error handling. All these are actually programming facilities. So that facility you're incorporating along with SQL. Therefore, in Oracle or in Postgres, they generally call it as PLSQL. In Oracle, they call it as PLPGSQL. In Oracle, in Postgres, in Oracle, they call it as PLSQL. Here, they just call it as stored programs. Correct? So, what are stored programs that are clear to you? They are SQL code blocks. They are stored in the database. They perform some specific task. And whenever you call it, it will get executed. During calling, you can pass values to it. At the end, after the task is performed, it may return the result also to you. And it is specifically for automating some work, like some work which you want to do again and again. Write it once, store in the database, and then execute any number of times as you want. Okay? So basic definition is like this. So in short, remember, till now we have seen in the database what we were storing, tables, and within table record. But MySQL says in the database, you can store the code also. The whole code is itself saved in your database. Okay. So it's a stored program. Sorry, what is a stored program? So it's a SQL code block. That code block is stored in the database and that can be executed repeatedly. As many times as you want, you can call it. So the basic purpose is define once and call it any number of times as you want. So that's what I said. No? Any task is to be automated. So instead of writing that task every time, define that task once, store that task in the database, and then call it for execution as many times as you want. And whenever you call, you can pass different values to it and the task will perform on that values and it may return the result as well. Okay? So basic definition is clear to you, I guess. What are stored programs? So they are code blocks and they're stored in the database. And whenever you want, you can execute as many times as you want. Okay? Now, general facilities, what these stored programs give. So the common facilities are like uh, declaring temporary variables. Okay. Now, declaring temporary variables is actually the quality of procedural languages. No? Yes or no, guys? Like if you have worked in Python or JavaScript or Java or C, there we create temporary variables to store the result or to store the values. So creating temporary variables that you can do in stored program, which we didn't see till now, till yesterday's session, till window functions, everything was non-procedural concept. We were just giving what to do. We were not bothered about how. Correct? So creating temporary variables is actually the quality of procedural language. Then control flow instructions. Okay. Control flow means decision making. Like if if this condition is true, then I'll perform insert query. Means you can do normal SQL also within it, but you're using such conditional statement. Else I'll perform delete query. So I want to perform any one of this, insert query or delete, but that on the conditional basis. If this condition is true, then I'll do insert. Else I'll do delete. And suppose I want to perform some task repeatedly. I want to insert records one by one. And this I want to do it 50 times. So I can put it within a loop and that loop will go for 50 times. So they come under control flow. So conditional statement, loops, they all are control. Then you can handle cursors. Now you'll say what are cursors? Okay. Cursor is just a pointer in the result of select query. Whatever select query you give, you're submitting the select query. So MySQL will return you the result of that select query in the form of rows and columns. I hope the result comes in the form of rows and column only for select query. I hope all of you agree with me. When you get the result in the form of rows and column, only in select query. So you have given select query, the result has come. Now you want to process these records one by one. I want to process them one by one. Okay, so we need a pointer which will point to some current record. And if we retrieve the record, the pointer will get advanced to next record. So that is cursor. So you can handle that records one by one with the help of cursor. We'll be learning, don't worry. Error handling. Okay, if you want to handle errors. So error handling is there. Okay, then there is facility of passing parameters, in parameter, out parameter. Okay, so passing parameters and all that are all facilities of procedure, and that all who give these stored programs. Correct? So what all facilities we get in the case of stored program? I told you. You can declare temporary variables, declaration of temporary variables and all. Then parameter passing. There are different types of parameter, in parameter, out parameter, in out parameter. Okay. So what is in, what is out, what is in out. Okay. Then I'll differentiate, don't worry. What is in parameter, what is out parameter, what is in out parameter, everything I'll tell you, don't worry. Then control flow instructions like if, case, okay, we'll learn all this. Examples we are going to learn, don't worry. Loops are there, while loop, while loop, then infinite loop, then repeat until. Then the cursors, just now I told you cursor is a pointer in that select query result. We have given a select query, the result has come, and within that result, that cursor is a pointer. And using that cursor, we can fetch the records one by one. And one record fetched, the pointer gets advanced to the next record by default. Error handling is there. Okay. How to use this error handling, that too I'll tell you, don't worry. Okay. Like when you're moving one by one to the next record using this cursor. And when you reach beyond the last record, then the error is thrown. And then you can trap that error. So how to do this error handling? I'll show you in some examples. Okay. So basic facilities are clear to you. You can give me quick confirmation.
Yes.
Yes, sir, clear.
Sure. Then we will see different types of, okay, different types of procedures, stored procedures. One by one, I'll tell you. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Now there are actually four types of stored procedures. Three at least I'm going to tell you. One you can explore because each and everything cannot be covered. Okay. So one in that is stored procedure. Okay. Stored procedures. Now stored procedure will perform some task whenever it is called. So stored procedure, it is containing some SQL logic code. That code is getting saved in the database. And whenever you call, you can pass parameters to it. Through that parameter only, it will return the value to the outside world. Correct? It is performing the task. But the thing is, this stored procedures will get executed only when you call it using a call instruction. In that call instruction, you have to use the call instruction and then the name of your procedure, and then you'll pass parameters. Now, in these parameters, only some will be in, some will be out. Correct? Means in some parameter, the result is going to come. In some parameter, you are passing the value, which will go to the procedure. Okay? But stored procedures won't get executed unless and until you call it using call instruction. The call instruction is needed for executing it. Correct? And it doesn't return the value through return statement. It returns indirectly through parameters. There are out parameter. So in out parameter, you'll get the value. In parameter, you'll pass the value. Correct? I'll tell you about in out again in detail. But only the specialities, the stored procedures execute only when you call it using call instruction. Get it? And then we have stored functions. Stored functions are like stored procedures only. They are also performing some specific task whenever called. Then to them also you can pass values. Okay. Only the speciality of stored functions is at the end, it is going to return some value using return statement. Return and some value. Such return statement you cannot write in stored procedure. In stored procedure, what is not allowed? Return statement. Okay? Whereas stored functions strictly contain return statement and it is going to return some value. Means it doesn't return it through out parameter. To stored functions, only in parameter come. It doesn't have out and it returns the value strictly at the end using return statement. Okay? Means in every stored function at the end you will have a return clause. Such return statement cannot be used in procedure. And to call the stored function, there is no need of call instruction. Stored procedures can be called only using call instruction, guys. But to call a stored function, no need of call instruction. You call it directly in any other SQL statement. Like you can call directly in a select statement like this. Select foo. Okay. And you can pass value to it. This function foo is called, it executes, it returns something. It has to return. That is the speciality of function. Functions always return something at the end. So whatever is returned by that foo, select will print it. So for calling a function, you don't need this call instruction. You can directly call it in such select statement, even in any update statement, when you're updating something. So in the set some column equal to, and here you can call the function. So whatever value it is returning is given to this column. Okay. So there is no special call instruction for calling function. These stored functions are same like built-in functions. I hope we have studied built-in functions, guys. Three types of built-in functions we studied. First, string category. You remember upper, lower. You remember or no? Length, reverse, lpad, rpad. Then ltrim, rtrim, trim. You remember that functions or no? Guys, don't say yes, no. I'm sure. Then in number category also we saw floor, seal, round. In numeric category, random. Then date and time also we saw. All those built-in functions we have seen or no? At least tell yes or no. No means you have not attended and you have not watched the video. Correct? And if you have attended, then sure you'll say yes. I remember in that someone had asked me question related to that text, that string functions, right? I think Vikrant only had asked, like when I gave substring function, Then he said, can we extract something from the beginning, something from the end? Then I told, yes, that functions are coming on the next slide. That is left, right. Then he said that in Excel there is similar called mid. Okay, see, pura script mujhe yaad hai. So we have seen that or no? At least tell yes, no, guys. Kuch to respond karo.
Yes, sir.
All the three category functions we have studied. So what are they? They're functions, they're built-in functions. Same way you can write your functions. And all those built-in functions we were writing in such select statement. Was there any special syntax for calling it? I was just writing lower and then I was giving some string. It was just converting that string to lower and returning whatever that the returned value is, select was printing it, right? Same way, here we will call our functions, right? So there is no special call instruction for function, and functions take only input, and at the end they strictly return one value as output using return statement. In procedures, you don't have return. In procedures, parameters are only in and out. Means in parameters only you can pass value, you can return value. In procedures, you cannot use return instruction. And to call the procedure, you have to call it strictly using call instruction. Get it? So a common question in interview, is there a difference between a procedure and a function? Get it? Is there a difference between a procedure and a function? So I hope you should be able to make points related to procedure and function. Okay. Then there is third type, third type of stored program called triggers. Okay. This also we are going to learn. So third category is called as triggers, and triggers are also stored programs. Okay. Triggers are also containing logic. It is also saved in the database. Only the thing is triggers get called implicitly. We don't have to call it explicitly. Like procedure, we call it using call instruction. Functions also we call in select statement or anything. But triggers we don't call explicitly. It is going to get called implicitly by MySQL whenever the event occurs on the table. Okay, so you'll say how MySQL knows. So when you're creating trigger, that time you're telling for which table and for which event that trigger is. The trigger is a stored program only. It is containing some logic. But when you're creating the trigger, you're telling that this trigger is for this table, okay, and for which operation, event also you'll tell. That is after or before, and for which operation, whether it is insert, delete, or update. You can write triggers only for these three things. Okay. So when you're creating this trigger, you have told that this trigger is for this table, for after or before, or for insert, delete, update. Now, whenever on this table this operation takes place, on this table, whenever you're doing insert or you're doing delete or you're doing update, the moment that activity happens on that table, we say a event has occurred, and implicitly it will give call to this function, sorry, this code, and the code will get executed. So are we calling this code explicitly, or it will get called implicitly whenever the event occurs on the table? Whenever that event occurs on the table, automatically MySQL only will give call to this function or procedure, you can say. So it is also a code block. It is also performing some task. Only the thing is you don't have to call it using a call instruction like procedure, or you don't have to call it in a select statement like function. You just define it. Your job is not to call it. It will get called implicitly by MySQL. Okay, it will get called implicitly by MySQL whenever on that table the respective event occurs for which that trigger is written. Whenever you write the trigger, that time you have to tell that this trigger is for so and so table. You have to write on employee or on student, then before insert or before delete. That all things you mention at the time of creating the table, sorry, creating the trigger. So trigger is created. You have told also that the trigger is for which table, for which operation. Now, whenever that operation occurs on that table, automatically this procedure will get executed. You don't have to call it explicitly. Correct? I hope you're understanding. Right? Means some things happen automatic, like that, you can say. And one last is an event procedure, which get executed whenever that event occurs. So generally that event is time. Okay. So you can write a procedure which you want to execute periodically, like after every 1 hour. That's what I said. For automation, this all things are very helpful. So you want that after every 1 hour, some code should run. I don't have to keep monitoring the clock and then 1 hour is elapsed, then give the call to the function. Again, after 1 hour, I have to watch, again give the call to function. Implicitly, only that procedure will get called whenever that much time is elapsed. Correct? If that much time is elapsed, automatically the function is called, sorry, the procedure is called execute. Again, wait for that much time to elapse. That much time elapse, again it will call. Get it? Lot of applications, example in banking system and all, like in banking applications, they add interest entry into your, some banks give quarterly. So after every 4 month or after every 3 month, they add interest in your bank account. Is it happening automatic? That bank employee doesn't have to monitor each and every accounts. Getting that banking software only is written in such a way that in that software, the code is written and that code gets executed periodically. Getting many things are there, na? Like notifications you get some notifications like your EMI is there. So every time it keeps giving you notification, 7 days remaining, 5 days remaining. Get it? So it is sort of code which gets executed periodically. Get it? So that are event procedures. So four types of procedures. I hope you got it. First is a stored program. Stored procedure. It's a block of code. It is performing some task. The task can be simple task to any complicated task, depending on your application. It can contain any business logic. So a block of code that performs a task, it takes input, it gives output also. Okay. But it is to be called. Unless and until you call it, it won't get executed. And how do you call it? By using call statement. Means for stored procedure, strictly call instruction is necessary. Okay, okay. Without call statement, you cannot give a call to the procedure. Then we have stored function. They are same like stored procedure only. It is also code block. It is also performing some task. Only the speciality of stored function is it doesn't have out parameter. It will return some value at the end. Okay. And to call it, there's no need of call instruction. You can directly call it in a select statement or in an update statement, even in insert statement. Okay. I'll show you examples. Don't worry. So stored function similar to procedure, but it returns a single value at the end and it is used directly in any SQL statement. Understanding? Means to call stored function, there is no need of using call instruction. You can directly call them in select. As I said, select foo. So foo is called execute, and as that foo is a function, it is going to return something. Whatever is returned is given to select. Select will print on the monitor. It's something like that. Okay. Then we have trigger. Triggers are also stored programs only. Triggers are also code block. Only the thing is, trigger gets executed implicitly. You don't have to call them explicitly. But when they get called, whenever on that table for whom the trigger is written. Always remember, जब भी आप trigger लिखोगे, whenever you'll write trigger, you have to tell that trigger is for which table. Means when you'll create trigger, the syntax is like that: create, trigger name, on, and then you have to tell the table name, on student, on employee. Then you have to tell after or before, and then which operation, after insert or before update, whatever. Get it? So obviously when you'll write trigger, you'll tell the table and you will also tell the operation. So whenever on that table that operation is performed, implicitly MySQL will give the call to trigger. Get it? So code that automatically runs in response to table event, like insert, update, delete. Okay. Then last is a event procedure. Means here, I hope you got it. So whenever on that table, any of this operation takes place, automatically the trigger is called. When we'll see practically, it will be more clear to you. Now, the conceptual thing I'm telling, but when we will dive into the topic trigger, and then I'll show you how to create a trigger, and then I'll give the demonstration of it, it will be more perfect. And last is event procedures or event programs. But these are the scheduled tasks, as I said. Getting like in JavaScript, we have set interval and some code. So whatever interval you have given, it will run that code after that much interval. Exact some similar concept. So a scheduled job that runs at a specified time or interval. So time you have given after every first date of every month or last date of every month. So that month's last date, that code will get executed. Sometimes like at the end of the day, like some task is there, and whenever you log out, means your timing is 9 to 5, and when you're about to log out, that time this code will execute. Like you want to send some log entry in the log. There's a log table, and there you have to make some entry, and automatic. You don't have to do it. Getting like some summary info, like whole day, how much bills were generated, their whole summary you want to save somewhere, and then your superiors are going to check what has come in it. Getting so you can use this event codes. Okay, a scheduled job that runs at a specified time or interval. So I hope the four types of procedures are clear. The main thing we are going to focus on these three things in this course, and difference between procedure and function also is clear. Only one basic difference you have to remember: procedures don't have a return statement, functions have return, and procedures are called using call instruction. Functions are called directly in any SQL statement. Getting? And functions don't have out parameter, they have only in. Procedures have in and out both. Okay. So the basic types are clear. You can just give me quick confirmation. The types of procedures.
Clear.
Procedures nahi, not to say procedure. I just want to say,
Stored programs.
I wanted to say stored programs. Okay, so all the four types are clear. Now we have to deal with all of them one by one. Like first we will focus on stored procedure, then the syntax. Then in that only I'll show you how to declare temporary variables. Then we will be learning s- statements like if else, case, loops, all that I'll cover in this part only. But that if else and loops you can use in functions also and triggers also. Correct? So all one by one. But what benefits we get using stored programs? Correct? So lot of benefits you can get. One is centralized access, meaning this logics, what you are developing, that logics are getting saved in your database. Correct? So as it is saved in the database, it is secure also. Okay. And the access is centralized, meaning if there are many people working on that database, if a team is working on that database, so everyone needs that logic. All of them are developing on different parts, but all are needing that same logic. So why to write that logic separately? Why that member will write that logic again and again? Instead of that, create the logic, keep it on the server, that is your MySQL server, and all the users who are accessing that MySQL server will access that centralized logic. Correct? So that is one benefit you get. Then reusability you get. Getting or no? The same logic, if it is needed many times. So why to define it that many times? Define it once and call any number of times. So you get reusability. Correct? Network overhead is also reduced between the application and the database. Like this is your workbench and this is your MySQL server. Okay? Now suppose some 4 or 5 operations we are doing through workbench. So first you are establishing the connection, and then one by one you are sending the query. So here what will happen? It will send one query, perform, coming back. Then second query, send, the result has come. So that many times you are using the network. Instead of that, if all these related tasks, you know that all these are related tasks, you can put all these tasks in one procedure only and then submit that procedure to the server. So the entire procedure only is given. The overhead is lesser. Like example, I stay in Pimpri Chinchwad and I have some work in Pune town. Getting? So I know I have some 4 different work. So obviously before moving from PCMC to Pune city, getting? I'll first collect all the work what I have to do over there. Right or no? So I'll collect all the work, go once only, complete everything, and then only come. Right? Instead of going every time for each work, I'll go there, complete my work, come back. Then again, I'll go there, complete second work, come back. So obviously, the overheads are more. Here, what will happen? Instead of submitting the query each separately, block, put it into one procedure, and then one procedure only you can give it to the server. So overhead to the network are lesser. Correct? And then your it is manageable also. Like if you want to do the bug fixing, can we just fix the bug at one place only? Right or no? Like if this is your database and 4 users, okay, user one, user two, user three, all three are need 4 or 3, suppose all three are needing some common logic. So why they all will develop their logics? Ultimately, they know the logic is same. Okay, so everyone is developing separately. Instead of that, can we develop and keep it once only over here? And everyone is using the same logic. So reusability is also there. Centralized access is there, more secure. Okay, overhead to the network less because we are not sending one by one. The entire procedure is only requested. Getting? And in that procedure, different statements are there. Okay. And manageable meaning what? In the future, if you want to change the logic, everyone doesn't have to change the logic. Here only at centralized place you change the logic. The same logic is visible to everyone. Getting? And bug fixing also. If the bugs are to be fixed, if suppose they all develop their own logic, so everyone has to fix it separately. Instead of that, you have to fix the bug at one place and that changes are reflected to everyone. Get it? So all these benefits you get, bug fixing at one place, then modifications if you have to do it only at one place. Reusability you get, network overhead less, as it is kept at centralized place, the business logic is shared by everyone. And as it is at centralized place, it is more secure. So all these benefits you get with the help of stored programs. Getting? So quickly we will understand this centralized business logic inside the database because they are stored programs. No? So they are the code blocks, but that code blocks are saved in the database. Understanding, guys? So as it is saved in the database, it is at centralized place. Okay. Reduce network traffic between the application and the database. One by one statement you don't have to send. One query send. Second. So every time the utilization of the network, every time the resources used, okay, that gets reduced if you are grouping all the statement into one block and submitting that whole block. Correct? Then improved performance and reusability. Obviously, performance will be better only. No? At centralized place, everyone is accessing that. Reusability also you get. Every user doesn't have to develop their own logics. Whatever logics are needed, keep it at central place. Everyone is using that common logic. Easier to maintain and secure. As it is at centralized place, obviously it is secure and easier to maintain, meaning if the changes are to be done, are we supposed to do change only at one common place? If the bug is to be fixed, you have to fix only at one common place. That benefits you get and promotes code consistency. Getting code consist. This is done in full stack developments also. Means not only this is applicable for SQL stored program, it is applicable for normal programming also. Like you are working in Java and all. So they have given all Git and all. So Git commands are there. They are for version controls and all. So promotes code consistency, meaning every user is not developing their logics. All are using one common logic. So therefore, what user means those people who are working on that same database. Get it? So if all are needing some similar task, then everyone is not developing their own. One common code is developed and everyone is using the same code. So all are using the similar logic. Therefore, consistency is also there in the code. Okay. So all these different benefits you get with the help of stored programs. Okay. So you can give me quick confirmation so that I'll tell you the syntax of writing a stored program. Right, guys?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Now I'll tell you. Now we have to dive into the first thing that is stored procedures. Okay. Now how to create a stored procedure. The syntax I'll tell you. Remember, two things are there. First, you will define and then you will call. Defining is once you define it, the code will get compiled and then it will get saved in the database. And then as many times you want, you can call it. Getting? So remember, only defining is not sufficient. You have to call also, take the benefit. Getting? Like you have purchased an Harley Davidson bike, Kharida Hayabusa, you have purchased, but you have just purchased and kept it in the parking. And never you are igniting it, you're putting it in the gear and accelerating and you're driving it on the road. So you're not taking the benefit of it. Correct? Same way here. Defining and calling. Two parts are there. So first you define once and call any number of times. If you're not calling means you're not taking the benefit of it. Then why did you define that stored procedure? यूज ही नहीं है अगर आपने उसको कॉल ही नहीं किया. Correct? So you have to call it. ठीक है? So what all things are there in the definition? First I'll tell you the definition, then I'll tell you calling. Define means you're telling what parameters it is going to take, what task it is going to perform. Getting? And calling means you are requesting it to get executed. Calling means it is actually getting what? Executed. Okay? Syntax is very simple. First, the create keyword is there. Create is a very standard keyword for creating any database object. So if you want to create a table, create only. To create a view, to create a procedure, to create a function, to create a trigger, anything starts with create. Then which database object? That is the second keyword. So we are going to create procedure. So I have to write procedure here. Okay. To create procedure, then the procedure name. As we give the name to the table, you have to give name to the procedure. It should be a meaningful name as per the task, what it is going to do. What type of task it is going to do, as per that you give the name. It should be a meaningful identifier combination of letters, digit, underscore. Okay, cannot start with digit, no reserve word, all that rules you will follow. And then you will pass parameters. Remember, parameters are variables only, but these variables can be used only within the body of the procedure. Okay, so whatever parameters you pass, you can write in before it, or out, or in out. What does that mean? I'll tell you, don't worry. In out is one word and no space, and it is optional. So if you don't give anything, it is by default in, and then the name of your parameters. Okay, whatever the parameter names and their data types also. Correct? You have to tell that whether it is integer or whether it is varchar or whether it is float or decimal, whatever. It is a comma separated list. Params have told it is a comma separated list. Okay? And parameters means they are variables, but only these variables can be used within the body of the procedure. Within that procedure body only you can use these parameters. Okay? Then comes begin. Okay? Then any logic, whatever logic you want, and then comes end. Get it? Okay. But in this case, what happens is our normal delimiter is what? What is our standard delimiter means you're understanding? The symbol which indicate the command is over. The command is complete. Like in English, we tell the statement is over by a dot or by an exclamation or by a question mark. So they are delimiters or punctuations. In English, we call it as punctuations. Here, technically, we call it as delimiter. So what is the standard delimiter in our SQL? How do we tell that the command is over? By putting can,
Semicolon.
semicolon. I hope you got it. Every query completes with semicolon. So semicolon is the delimiter. Here also what problem happens is, now within begin and end, there can be declare statement also for declaring local variable. If you want to create temporary variable, then there is a declare statement. I'll tell you all that. Then logic will be there, if, else, loops. Okay? Within that, there can be select, insert, delete, update. So logic is there. So what happens is between begin and end, you may be writing many statements. And as per the rule, every statement you will be completing by semicolon. So what happens is, okay, whenever any semicolon come, there only it indicates the end of the statement. Correct? But actually, we don't want to submit that one statement. We want to submit the whole block. This whole block we want to submit to MySQL for compilation. And MySQL will compile the whole block, store and keep it, and then you can call it any number of times as you want. Correct? So for time being, you have to switch from this delimiter to some other, only for workbench side. So what I'll do is, there's one statement called delimiter. Okay, these things are not necessary in Oracle PLSQL or in Postgres and all. In Postgres, they use some another statement, NPLPG, then it indicates here the block is over. Okay, so here what you have to do is you have to use delimiter and change your default delimiter to something else. Getting? So I am putting suppose dollar dollar. It's up to you what you want. Okay. So when I give delimiter dollar dollar, it is informed now to MySQL that till dollar dollar doesn't come, please don't complete the statement. Means when the statement will be over, only when dollar dollar come. Understanding? So now I'm writing the procedure. Inside there are many statement, many times semicolon coming, but still, is it considering end of the statement or it will consider end only when dollar dollar will come, which I'll put here now, end dollar dollar. So when that dollar dollar appear, then only it treats end of the statement. So this whole thing will be considered as one statement. So in between, if semicolon also come, doesn't matter. Now, when dollar dollar is appearing, this whole thing will be submitted as one statement to MySQL. Understanding? So for time being, you're switching the default delimiter to some other. Now you'll say dollar dollar, you can use slash slash. Generally use such symbols which are not commonly used. Commonly in usage, those symbols which we don't use, that we give. So you can give slash slash, dollar dollar, up to you. Delimiter dollar dollar. Then I'm writing this. Inside the block, many times semicolon. No problem. Because now you have informed that till dollar dollar doesn't come, please don't complete it as a statement. So when end come, I put dollar dollar, the statement is complete. Now it will send this whole thing as one statement. Okay? And again, if you want to come back to semicolon, then again you'll write delimiter semicolon. So who becomes your normal delimiter now? The original. Now again your delimiter is switched to semicolon. Okay? So this is a general syntax. Now only about in, out and in, out. That quickly I'll tell you. Okay? That much part quickly about in, out, in, out. And then we will go through the syntax. Then I'll show you examples of in also, out also, in, out also. So suppose if your parameter is of type in. See here, you're writing in, n, integer. Means that is the here the function procedure name and everything is there. Whenever it is a in parameter, it is going to receive the value from the outside world. And this parameter you use inside the logic. Means inside the body, you can use it. But you're not supposed to modify it. You cannot change it. You can just use that value inside the body. Get it? And this parameter is going to receive some value at the time of call. Suppose this is your procedure foo. So when you're calling that procedure by call instruction, that time you're passing some value that will get copied here. See, call foo phi. So phi is copied in n, and that n you can use inside. Okay? That n you can use inside. but you cannot modify that n. N cannot be changed because it's a in parameter. Get it? It is locked for changes. So in parameter means it is going to receive value from outside, and that parameter can be used only within the body. You cannot change it. Understanding? Clear? Then we have out parameter. Okay, out and suppose answer of type integer, right? So whenever it is out parameter, your procedure is going to store something in it. Procedure is not going to use it. If it is in, the value is used inside it. But when it is out, your procedure is producing some answer, whatever result, and keeping it in it. And whatever value is kept here is copied here in your actual variable. Here you will be creating some variable. No need to declare. Only ampersand and whatever variable name. It is created, don't worry. So now what will happen? M value is not passed. Answers value is copied here. Whereas here 5 is passed there. 5 goes there in N and you're using it. And inside you're doing some calculation and storing something in answer. Now you'll say how the procedure stores in it. There is a selecting to clause. So with this, some result is kept here. Okay, result is kept, function over. But when the function is complete, the value of this out is copied in your actual variable. Means that value gets copied here. Getting here, everything is on copy transfer technique. Means here get transferred, that gets copied again. So if you print and see this value, in select statement, select @m. In this, what will be printed? Whatever is copied from that answer. So whatever was that there in the answer is copied in M and you can print and see. So out variable procedure keeps something in it and that value is given to the outside world. In it receives value from the outside world and uses it within the procedure. Getting? And if you give in out, both thing. Means here suppose the third one is in and out. In out. X suppose. Okay, integer. Now here the third thing is there. I'll write @t. Okay, and before that I'm storing some value by set @t equal to 100. Here two way means we call it as duplex, half duplex, full duplex. I hope you have heard about such terminology in communication. Like when on the telephone line, when you talk, both way is there. No? From here also you talk, from there also that person is talking, both way. So here what we have done, we have created one actual variable t with value 10, then @t. As it is in out, first this value is given to x. What is value of t? 10. That is given. Then your procedure is doing some work, producing some new answer, whatever, 50. And when the procedure is over, the latest value is again copied in T. Means from here the value goes also. You use it, produce some new result, store it, and when the procedure is over, that value is again copied in your variable. Therefore, it is in out. Means you give also in it, procedure stores something, and that value is again copied in your variable. Understanding, guys? That is the basic difference between in, out, and in out. So in, from outside value come in it. Out, procedure keeps something in it and gives it to the outside world. And in out both. Okay? I hope it is clear. Right, guys? If you have doubt in this, you can ask me. Or maybe when we will solve the programs, when we'll see the examples, it may get clear more. Some level understanding you have got, some level. Maybe if you have not understood 100%, okay. But at some level you have understood, like in, out, at least confirmation you give. No, to you say no, no problem, huh, guys. there's no prestige issue. How to say no, then sir को बुरा लगेगा या सर मेरे बारे में क्या सोचेंगे, nothing like that. ठीक है? I will also not think anything like that, and you also don't think. ठीक है? If you have doubt, please ask.
Yes, sir. For me.
Others also, huh? In parameter, out parameter, in out parameter. Others, Aditi, Vikrant, and all those who have joined.
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Getting, like in we pass something, it comes over here, we use it. Out procedure stores something in it, and whatever procedure is stored in it, that will again get copied in your variable. And in out both way. You're keeping something, then you give there, then that value is used inside, then new result you keep, and that new result is again copied here. So now if you check, here the new value has come. Means while sending it was 10, but when the procedure is over, in that T, some new result might have come because that value is again copied here. Getting? This is everything on the copy technique. It is not like uh, Java or C, we pass the reference or all that. Yeah, everything is copy technique. This value get copied there, that value is again copied here. Okay? So, hope the syntax part is clear. So, we will discuss this syntax in the next session. I'll not again repeat it tomorrow. I'll just directly start with the syntax part and then we will see examples on it. ठीक है? All in example, out example, in out example, then how to declare temporary variables, that we will see, then how to write conditional statements, all that one by one we will discuss.